record this session. I'm recording it now, and I will post the video of it to YouTube, and I will send you guys out a link. Please be aware it is taking me a couple days to get them up and done. I'm finally finishing up Tuesdays, and so I'm working throughout the week, and I've already had one chat this morning. This is number 2 of 4, and so it will take me some time to get them all up there, but I will email you the link from it so you can access any of the chats that we've done. As we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about Zoom itself. If you're not familiar with Zoom, I've been using it for about 3 to 4 years. I teach part-time at Florida Southern College, and so I've used it for my online classes to connect with my students in a way that I can't because we're always doing everything online. We never really meet. And so I've been using that for a long time. The bad thing about the basic account, which is what you guys have, is that it has a limit of 100 people in the chat, which is not too big of a deal for most of you, but there's a 40-minute time limit on those chats. At 40 minutes, it cuts you off right away. And so I've been doing this with my students for a couple years, right? And of course, after 40 minutes, I have to either be done or I got to start a new chat. And so it got really annoying. And lucky for me, Florida Southern gave me a pro account that they pay for, not me. And so I have up to 300 people, which is why we have more than 100 on this chat. And I can do unlimited times. Now, because of the situation that we are in, Zoom has been working with districts to waive the 40-minute time limit through the end of July. And I'll show you how to make sure your account is set up that way. You still will have the 100-person limit in your chat. But we're going to go ahead and talk about a lot of different features on chat today and how Zoom works. So a lot of questions come out already. I want you to hold those questions initially until I have a chance to address those things. And if I want to address something that you're asking, I will definitely do that by the end of this session. Because that first question that came out was very, very long. All right, first of all, I'm going to share my screen with you a lot of times. And so right now I'm going to share a window for Clever. And basically you get to Clever by going to clever.com. And you can log into Clever using your school district Lawson number at hcps.net. So I'm going to do that right now. They added this screen yesterday, giving you reminders about how to log into Clever in case you can't find it. So this is available for you when you go to log in. I'm going to click Login Active Directory, and it's going to be your Lawson number at hcps.net, and then your district password. When I click Sign In, it takes me to my Clever dashboard. This is my Clever dashboard. Now, I used this program a little bit last year when I was teaching part-time at James Elementary during our sabbatical piece when I went to help out the achievement schools. And so I favorited a lot of icons. This is my favorite section. I favorited Khan Academy, iReady, Common Lit, things that I would do with my students on a regular basis. I also recently favorited Zoom. Now, if you have nothing in your favorite section when you log in at clever.com, that's okay, because all your apps are down here. And when you scroll to the bottom, you have a section labeled More Apps, and in there, you can click on Zoom to launch the Zoom app. You can also click on the heart to favorite it, and that will put it back at the top. That's how mine is up here. I click on that heart to favorite it. In the middle of this page, you also have e-learning for school closure information, so information coming from your content supervisors, lessons, resources, other things you will need to work with your students for the next 3, 4, 8, 9 weeks, however long we're on this work at home thing. Right now, it's through April 15th, so it could be extended, it could not be extended, we don't know, but they will continue to update this, and ladies and gentlemen, this updates almost daily, so you want to go back and keep checking this section. I'm going to click on Zoom to go ahead and launch Zoom from Clever. That's how you want to go in. It will log you in with your school district email automatically. And so you see this is my school district account, and it has my email address here, scott.richmond@sdhc, so on and so forth. Notice at the top, I have a 40-minute time limit lifted because I am with the school district. So you definitely want to go through Clever. Now, the first time you do this, you may get a weird request. It may say, do you want to merge your account with Troy Suarez or with HCPS? It comes one of both ways. The answer is yes. You want to merge your account because that's going to identify you as a school district employee and lift that 40-minute time limit. You can see this is my district account. It still has capacity of only 100 in a chat at any given time. So that's this dashboard page. There are 3 features on the website you need to be attuned to. The first one is the meetings tab. So you can see I have set up a whole bunch of meetings. I've been doing this training now nonstop for the last 6 days, and I eat, sleep, dream Zoom. I had a dream about Zoom last night. Fortunately, it was a good dream and not a nightmare. By the way, feel free to laugh at me anytime. Anything you guys think is funny, that's great. We all need a good laugh right now. Again, you can laugh at me all you want. I taught middle school. I can handle it. All right, so I'm going to schedule a new meeting by clicking on Schedule New Meeting. I'm going to call this My Fake Meeting number 8. And then I'm going to change the date. I'm going to make this one on Sunday. I'm going to make it for 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm going to make it for a 2-hour session. Now, of these 3 features here, ladies and gentlemen, the only important one is really the date. Even though our time today was 10:30, I was on here at 10:15 chatting with Alice ahead of time. So that's something you can go in ahead of time. This is more of a calendaring feature. Same thing here. It says 2 hours. Does it mean they're going to cut me off at 2 hours? No, it's not going to cut me off at 2 hours. It just sets up my calendar so I kind of know I'm leaving open those 2 hours. Time zone, we're not going to change that. We're all in Eastern time. Recurring meeting. This might be important to you if you're going to have the same kind of meeting every day and don't want to keep sending out new links. So let me give you an example. Today I have 4 chats. There are 4 different groups of people. I have sent out 4 different links to 4 different webinars. That's to make sure I don't get everybody showing up to one. If I've done one meeting for everybody, I have 200 in every session today registered. Can you imagine me having 800 people in a chat? Well, first of all, I couldn't because my account can only handle 300. So recurring meeting would be like you want to have office hours in the afternoon from 1 to 2 every day that your students can pop on, ask you questions, and pop off. You might want to set up your first period class to have a standing meeting at 9:30 in the morning. Your math time at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's the purpose of recurring. You want the same meeting to happen over and over again, and you want to send out the link one time. Next, meeting ID, I leave it on generate automatically. It's just easier to let them generate them for me. Meeting password. My message yesterday and today has changed a little bit on this. I always use this feature. I was telling teachers you may not want to, but then I changed my mind today when my wife showed me an article. There's some scammers out there who are randomly popping into people's Zoom chats. And so by having a password, you're less likely to have somebody figure out your code and get into your chat because it will generate a code that somebody could guess. But the likelihood of them guessing the code and the password, a lot less likely. Video. This is the default setting. If you do nothing, default setting is video off for both. Now for today's meeting, I went video on for both because I want to see your smiling faces. There you go. Some people are smiling. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If I were doing this with students, the recommendation is to turn video off. If you do this, it means they will never be able to turn their videos on no matter what. You'd have to enable it. Now, I understand that everybody is different and everybody wants to connect with their kids. I've gotten like 5 emails in the last 20 minutes. Scott, what'd you say about videos again for students? Here's the thing, talk to your principal. I understand, especially you elementary folks, the connection with seeing their faces is very, very important. I understand that. Even some of you middle and high school folks, I get that. The thing you need to be careful of though, if you do use video with students and you do record your session, do not post it online. Do not post student videos online. That is a violation of FERPA, and FERPA is the Privacy Rights Act. You want to be very careful about violating students' privacy by posting their videos online. So I leave this option up to you. Again, the district has come out and said they don't want you to use student videos, but I know for me, like last night I was doing a class and even other college students, I told them I want your video on, guys. I want to see you. I want to interact with you. It's much easier if I can see your face to interact with you guys. So that's an option you have there. Audio. You want to leave this link on both because some folks may call into your chat and some may use computer audio depending upon the device they have. If their power goes out, their internet goes out, whatever that is, somebody could use their phone and call into your chat and listen even though they can't see what you're doing. Meeting options. Enable join before host. Never. Don't do this one. Put an X through it. Don't use this one. Bad idea. Some of you were in this chat already before I even came on board. There were like 5 of you in the waiting room already when I came on board. If I had enabled this feature, you would have been able to come in and have a chat before I was even there. That's not a good idea with kids. Very bad idea. Mute participants on entry. I check that box all the time. I want you to be muted when you come in. That way I don't have all these voices going on in the background. So that's an important one. Waiting room. I use this feature, but it has become debatable in our district, and several people are saying several things. They're saying the kids can chat with each other before they come in. I've not personally found that yet. I use the waiting room. I leave it up to your discretion, your principal, but the recommendation has been not to use it. But realize that once you go in, people will pop into your chat immediately if you do that. I don't use this one, authenticated users. Breakout room we'll talk about later. And then record meetings. If you want to make sure you record your meeting all the time and don't forget about it, you check this box here. It'll record automatically without having to think about it. Okay? I'm going to close or save this file, and it's going to take me to my meeting summary. So here's my meeting summary. Here's my calendar information. Here's that meeting ID. See, it's only a 9-digit code, so people could guess this code and come into your meeting if there was no password. URL, this is what they click on to join your meeting. And then, of course, you can copy the invitation here. Here's that invitation here that I sent to you guys both last night and again this morning. What I would do is copy meeting invitation. I can paste it to Edsby. I can send it out in Remind. I can send it out in email, however I want to send it out. But know this. You see where it says dial by location here? Everything below there is really not useful. You can delete that part and only use this part up here at the top, because this gives 2 numbers people can call in on, and it gives the link that people are going to want to use for that meeting. So copy meeting invitation. Again, at the bottom, you can see your settings for your meeting, and if you ever decide you want to go change them, you click on edit this meeting, you can change the settings. You can also start the meeting from this page as well if you want to. When I go back to my Meetings tab, you can see I now have 8 fake meetings set up for Sunday. I better delete these or I'm going to have a lot of people coming online with me. I can start them from here. I can delete them from here. I can go in and edit them from here. So that's the Meetings tab. The next piece you want to see is the Settings tab. A lot of features in here. I, again, have left mine by default where Zoom sets them up for you, so you can see the ones you're going to want to go in and change before your first Zoom chat. First of all, if you want to set the video settings so you don't forget about it, that's it right here. I can turn my video on so it's always on, or I can leave it off and set it up for each individual meeting. Audio type, by default, there it is. Join before host, by default, it is turned off. Again, same thing. Here's that password thing, require a password. Set for default, I turn mine on. So that's going to make sure I have a password for each one. Mute participants on entry. You want to make sure every call does that. You would check the box right here, and that would make sure every chat you set up from now on has that feature set up. Chat feature and private chat feature. Do you want to use the chat feature with your students? If yes, it must be turned on. Otherwise, it won't be available. Private chat. This is a bad thing. That's why it's off. Do not use the private chat feature with students. Imagine them talking to each other behind your back and you can't monitor it. That would be a very, very bad thing. Down here, a little bit further on, co-host. Let's say you are a co-teacher. You have an ESE key teacher buddy, an ELL teacher buddy, someone you teach with, you want to control the chat with you. You could enable this feature and invite them as a co-host, and then you would invite everybody else as participants. Now today, Alice and Jonathan are on as participants, not as co-hosts. Right here, the sharing screen piece, this is probably the most important setting you're going to look at. You're going to want to change this one. By default, it looks like this. You're going to want to change sharing to host only and click save. The reason why is there were 2 incidents earlier this week of teachers using Zoom with their students. And both times the students were able to share inappropriate content with their classmates. And that's because the teacher had it set to all participants can share and not to host only. Doing this right here means by default, your meeting will not let participants share their information, and thus it'll give you the opportunity to give them access if you want to. I'm going to set mine back the way it was. Got 2 more of these today. Annotation and whiteboard, we'll talk about those features, but they come by default on. They're really a neat thing. And then the last setting I want to show you is the breakout room feature. Now, this feature is very, very difficult to understand because if you create breakout rooms, your students will go in a room without an adult, and you can't monitor them. The only way you should use this feature is if you have a co-teacher with you. So let's say, for example, Jonathan is my co-ESE teacher. We have 35 students together, and many of you are in this scenario. Jonathan wants to be on the chat with me, and then he wants to take his 7 students that are ESE and go in a private room without me. That's where this feature would be beneficial. That's the only way, when you have another adult to monitor that chat room. I'll show you how it works today so you can see it, but again, I would not use it unless you have another adult to help monitor. By the way, if this feature is not turned on like it is here, you won't even see it. So if you don't want to even think about breakout rooms, leave it on off. But if not, turn it on and you'll have that option. I'm going to scroll back to the top of my screen, and up here at the top is a resources tab where I can download the Zoom client. Now, many folks ask me, Scott, what is this client thing and why do I want it? Basically, some of you out there access your district ideas email. You do it using a website. In other words, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, one of those things. When you do that, you probably realize that you don't have some features that other program will have you use the client. You may not be able to access PDFs from the website. You can't access certain rooms from the website. So you download the first class client, and then you can access PDFs and everything else. The same thing is true of Zoom. Some of you are running Zoom in your web browser right now, and that's perfectly fine. But to get all of the features Zoom has to offer, you want to download the Zoom client and run it as a client. Now, if you're on a mobile device like a tablet or a phone, you can download that from the Play Store or the App Store and use that as well. Both those features work. When I am running my chats, I almost always use my computer. And the reason why is it gives me the most features, it has multitasking, and if I click out of the window we're working on together to do something, to get a screenshot I'm going to show you guys, it doesn't change anything. The program is still running in the background. Now, I did this with my students a couple years ago on my iPad. And here was the problem on my iPad. The second I left the window to find a document to share with them, it froze my face like this. And then the next time it froze my face like this. And so you need to be careful about that because otherwise you get frozen in some weird look. And you're going to see some of the screenshots we've taken are frozen in a weird look. I don't care. You can laugh at me all you want. But the next time I did it, I went like this. And then I changed the screen so I had a smile on my face. But that's something with a mobile device only. On a computer, a PC, or a Mac, it doesn't do that. I'm going to stop that share real quick. I'm going to bring you guys back to me. And right now, you guys are seeing one of two views. You are either seeing a view where I am really huge in your screen right now, and you have a small little box of you. The rest of you are probably seeing something looking a whole lot like the Brady Bunch. And if that's the case, you're in the gallery view. So that's what I'm in. And right now, Amanda Munitz, you are Alice, the maid in my piece. Aaron Green, you are Mrs. Brady. And Stacy Del Castillo, you are Mr. Brady. And everybody else, you guys are the Brady Bunch kids. That's what I'm seeing right now. I see 25 different videos on there, including myself, as opposed to seeing one big one. So if you want to be able to change that setting, and let me pull up my screenshots for you guys. This is that view I mentioned, the speaker view. Notice I caught Jonathan and myself in a strange pose. This is the speaker view. This is the gallery view. This is the gallery view. So if you want to get to the gallery view, in the upper right-hand corner, I have speaker view now, which allows me to go back to speaker view. If I'm in speaker view, I have a button that says gallery view. I can go to gallery view. You'll be much more comfortable in this mode than you are in this mode. Okay? Second thing, we mentioned links. You're going to copy the invitation link. How do you send that to your students and parents? Here is the EDSB gradebook dashboard. Okay? This is my wife's class, or first period class. In here, this piece in the middle is called the feed. And notice she has sent some information out here for the feed. You can do the same thing. You can paste that same link that I sent you guys right here in the feed, select what class you want to go to, and hit share, and students will have access. You can also email them if they've registered their email with and parents too, by the way, if they're registered, by using this link here to email them directly. Again, a great way to communicate with the students and everything like that. Somebody asked a question earlier, if I'm going to use the reoccurring chat where I'm going to have the same thing every day from 1 o'clock, can I just post that link once? Yes, you can, and it'll be here waiting for them. All right, so back to the gallery view. This is my view, ladies and gentlemen. This is not your view. You may look a little bit differently from me. First of all, I'm working on a Mac, and so therefore I use the dark mode, so my background's all darker. It's easier on my eyes for my personal preference. I'll show you some Windows screenshots as well, but this happens to be the one from a Mac. Down here at the bottom, these are all my menus. I'm going to show you what each one does and then take you through each one individually. So the first two on the left, you have the mute button and the stop video button. Those are only for your device, your computer, your iPad, your Android tablet, your phone. These control your audio and your video on your device only, not participants. The invite tab. Let's say I started my chat and I forgot to invite somebody. Well, I can click this button and get a link very easily without having to search for that email I sent out 3 days ago. I can send it to them. Manage participants. This is where I can manage everything about you guys. This is an example of the Manage Participants window. Notice this chat that day had 91 people in it. Right now we're at 178. So you can see this is very useful because it shows who's in the meeting. A red line through the microphone means they're muted. A red line through the camera means the camera is turned off. The circle here with the red square means I am recording. Now, I can control cameras from here as well. If you remember the scenario I mentioned earlier, you want to have cameras on so you can talk to your kids and see their faces. Then you want to record them and post it on YouTube, Edsby, Office 365, wherever. You want to click each camera to turn them off. If you click the camera, you turn them off, and they can't turn them back on again until you give them permission. Back at the bottom, the share screen button. We'll spend a lot of time on that one today. And how you can share items with your students. Then you have the chat feature we've already talked about a little bit. The record feature. When you are recording, you get a button like this. I can pause my recording or I can stop my recording. The breakout room feature. If you check that feature on the website, you will have this box. If you don't, it won't be there at all. Reactions are kind of like thumbs up or clapping emojis. So for example, if your class was all muted like you guys are right now, and I said, yes, good job, Alice, that problem is correct. Everybody could do a clapping emoji for her and it would show a clapping emoji in the corner of your screen. And then finally, the end meeting button. When you are done, you can click end meeting and get out of the meeting. I'm going to take you through each of those menus again individually and show you their options. So the first one is the microphone option. And this is a Windows one, so it looks like Windows. It's got a lighter background in it. And when you click on this up arrow next to mute, you get all these settings. Now, I notice in the videos I'm seeing, some of you have a headset and microphone on. If that is the case, you would select that in here to use a different microphone and a different speaker. Some of you are using your computer audio, like I am. It stays there by default. So you can change that setting in here. You can also test your speakers and microphone in this window. The next feature is the video window, and this is one on my Mac. And when I click on the up arrow next to the video, I get 3 settings. Which camera do you want to use? Well, my Mac only has 1 camera. But if your phone or tablet has more than 1, you might get an option of more than 1 here. Virtual background, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll show you it. Video settings, again, you want to change your video settings. You can edit that here like you could with audio. This is the Windows version. Again, same exact menu, just a slightly different order and a lighter background. That's the whole difference. So I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to go ahead and put on a virtual background. And let's see, where do I want to go today? I'm going to Florida Field. There we go. I'm at the Gator Stadium in Gainesville hanging out. Now, the purpose, yep, thank you, Holly, yep. The purpose of a virtual background, ladies and gentlemen, is because you are sitting in a room all day with the same 4 walls. And I've been in my office for 6 days doing these chats. 6 days, nonstop chats all day long. So hence, I change my background every so often. I do different things throughout the day, and this is the 3rd background I've used today. 2 things about virtual backgrounds to understand. Number one, your computer may or may not be fast enough or have the most updated software to handle virtual backgrounds. If for some reason and if you hear that noise in the background, I'm sorry, they're working on the trees outside my house, and I cannot mute that no matter what. They're just chopping away today. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. If your computer can't handle it, it will tell you that. If you don't have the option, you're either not using the client software or you haven't downloaded the latest client software. You may have to go to the website, zoom.us, click on resources at the top of the page, and download the latest client software. Number 2, be careful of the shirt you are wearing and the background behind you. I had a lady on Monday, poor thing, her shirt matched the background behind her, and I saw a floating head for the entire chat. Okay? Wednesday was worse, though, ladies and gentlemen. Wednesday was worse. The lady's skin matched the wall behind her. I saw her hair and a shirt and no face. Okay, she blended into the background, like Jonathan is doing right now, if you can see his picture. He is blending into the background there and not looking very good. So just test it out and look at it beforehand to make sure you're not going to look really silly. Although you may want to. Your kids can laugh at you then. That's never a bad thing, of course. But they realize you're a human being. So that's the virtual background. Now, what it looks like for me when I go to change that, you get this window here. And again, this one is on my Mac. But you can see it shows me my current background and then the ones I have options for. When you update to the latest Zoom software, It may give you several backgrounds already, and then you can add any picture you want with the plus symbol right here, as long as it's saved on your computer. So this version of Florida Field is a picture I got from the internet because I wanted one with nobody in it. And all the pictures I've taken from my seats have people in them. So I did this one so I can be in the stadium and no one else is there but me, which is kind of true right now, wouldn't it be? Because probably no one's in the stadium right now because everything is closed. But anyway, you can add any picture you want that's in a landscape format. Do not do portrait mode. I have this really great photo I took of Cinderella Castle at Disney World one day. When I was there one morning, no one was in front of it. It's portrait. I put it in my background. It turned the castle on its side. And so that didn't look really good. So that's the virtual background piece. Again, that is found here in the up arrow menu next to stop video, and choose virtual background. We're going to keep rolling now into the manage participants window. And let me zoom in for you guys here. This is the window I saw before you guys came in. You guys were in the waiting room up here. And in this instance, Barb and I were in the meeting, but this was Jonathan and Alice and I before you came in. Notice again, Barb's camera is off and I am recording. The neat thing about this window, if you're using the waiting room, is that I could message you guys in the waiting room, which I did. I'll meet you guys in a few minutes. Then I can click admit all and let you guys in all at the same time. I could also put just one person at a time or 3 people in at a time. So that's a great feature of this window. If we zoom in that window a little bit more, you get this view. Notice I've clicked on the more options menu. Many of your screens will have a more options. This is where I can check to make sure you guys are muted on entry. I can also check or uncheck allow participants to unmute themselves. When you guys first came on, some of you were unable to mute yourself because I forgot to click this one. I've done this so many times this week, I forgot. But I unchecked it now, and now you can't unmute yourself. I would definitely do that with your students so they can't keep popping in with the microphone. Now, for me personally, when I teach a class at like Florida Southern, I don't have this setting. I leave it on so they can unmute themselves when they're ready. Play, enter, exit chime. That's if you want to know when someone comes in or out. It'll play a doorbell. With 178 of you on the call right now, and some of you maybe pop off, I'm not doing that. Can you imagine my computer going ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong? And no, I'm not eating ding dongs. There you go. Allow participants to rename themselves. This is checked for you right now, but if I had students on there, I would uncheck it. And the reason behind that is it allows them to change their name. Now, I taught 5th grade through 9th grade. And I know many of my students might rename themselves as Doofus or some other inappropriate name. So uncheck that box. Lock meeting. You could use this feature if you wanted to lock your meeting once you know everybody's in and no one else could join. Now, the scenario I mentioned earlier of those strange stalker people coming in and popping out of people's chats, this would stop that. So if you knew every kid was on, you could click it. The one downfall is if somebody leaves your meeting, they can't come back in unless you uncheck this box. Finally, put participants in waiting room on entry. That is checked right now. When I hit admit all, I unchecked it so that it would let you guys come in automatically. Those of you who came in slightly after 10:30, no, you didn't go to a waiting room. You came right in because I unchecked this feature. Here it is again on Windows. And again, same thing, just a lighter background and the same features you can check or uncheck. I checked some different features here so you can see what they look like. I'm going to stop my share for a moment, and I'm going to come back to the main screen where I see my Brady Bunch. And basically, I'm going to let you guys rename yourselves now. If you want to rename yourself, you can hover your mouse over your window, your picture in the gallery view, and click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and go to rename. Now, Stacy Del Castillo, I'm going to rename you so I can prove I can do it as well. Are you Miss or Mrs.? Miss. Yes, okay, got it. So I'm going to rename you as Miss Del Castillo, and there you go, you're renamed so you look more appropriate in there. The reason behind doing this for you is you may not want your full name there for your kids. You may want to have Dr. Richmond like I would be, or Mr. Richmond for my son. Number 2, you don't want students renaming themselves, you can rename them yourself. And that's kind of cool because if you have their pictures on it first, you can rename them. And then if you turn their videos off later to record, say, you still have their name showing up. It'll show their name in the window. Like Alice has her video off, and so I see Alice Jones in her window. That's all I see. And so I know that happens to be her. So that's the rename feature. And again, you can either enable it for participants or not. And I would highly recommend you turn off the feature for students so they can't rename themselves. And that was in the more feature on Manage Participants. The next thing I want to show you is students can raise their virtual hand. At the bottom of your screen or the top, depending upon what device you're on, you either have a participant button or a more button where you'll find participants. Click into there, and somewhere in there you'll find a button that says raise hand. And go ahead and raise your virtual hand. And I see a lot of you are doing that right now. And so Amanda, I'm going to lower your hand and say, hi Amanda, how you doing?
Good.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. Schultz C, you are raising a real hand, not a virtual hand. Click on participants or more participants, and you'll get that feature. Miss Casey, I'm going to unmute you. Hi there, how are you this morning? You got to unmute yourself too. Oh, let me do it again. Unmute yourself. We're having difficulty. I can't unmute you. Once in a while we have that issue come up. I don't know why it's doing that for you. Miss Brookbank, I'm going to lower your hand and unmute you. Hi there, how are you?
Oh.
That's a nice background behind you. All right, Miss Pawlowski, did I pronounce it right? Sorry. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
So again, if you only had, say, 25 kids on with you or 20 kids on with you, you'd have them in one screen where you could see all their virtual hands go up. But it does give me notifications on my end to show me they have virtual hands up. And for example, Maxwell McAllister, I'm going to lower your hand. Hi there, how are you?
How are you?
Good, good, thank you. So I can unmute them and then remute them so I can let one kid talk at a time and not have everybody doing that. Now to raise your hand, you want to go into participants. If you're on a computer, it's probably in the bottom of your window. It says participants. If you're on a mobile device, it's probably at the top of your screen in a section called more and then participants, because obviously your screen is a bit smaller. So that's a really, really neat feature for connecting with students and letting them have the floor. By the way, this is what it looks like for me on my end. So if your hand was raised, I would see a lower hand button when I hover over it. And then over here on the right, I have a mute button, and I have the same 3 dots you have. Someone asked a question earlier, can I kick somebody out of the chat? Yes, I can. I can click on their 3 dots and tell them to remove, and it'll remove them from my chat if I don't want them in there. Next, we're going to go on the chat feature. We've been using that chat feature throughout, but you need to know the settings of the chat feature to make it work. This would be the blank chat feature before we get started. This is the chat feature with people actually chatting in it. If you notice, Sam Weiss and I are privately messaging, but Mary and Mrs. Hickey are messaging to everybody. So this is really important. Right now, some of you may have private messaged me. If I didn't respond, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I'm not monitoring the chat right now. Only Jonathan and Alice are doing that. And if you sent me a private message, they can't see it. If you sent to everyone, they've probably responded to you. So that's an important feature. When you click on the 3 dots here on the right-hand side of the chat window, you get these 4 options for your participants. These are hierarchical, meaning if I click no one, that means no one can chat but me. I can send them messages, they can't reply. If I click host only, it means they can message me privately and I can message them or everyone. If I click everyone publicly, that's a setting we have right now. It means you can message the host privately or you can message the everyone group. That's the setting I recommend. And then everyone public and privately, no, 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 never, never, never. This is where your students could private message each other. That would be really bad. I don't care what grade level your kids are in. I don't care if they're in kindergarten or 12th grade. They can do things in a private chat that their parents don't know they do already. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. They try and do it at school too on their phones. So we have that issue. So everyone publicly is the setting I recommend, and that's the feature we're in right now. By the way, this is that same feature again, only in a Windows view. And again, you can see it's the same 3 dots, and you've got that same piece here. The sharing feature, the one you're going to find most useful is this one right here. This is the Windows screen. To get to this screen, I clicked on Share Screen. Now, depending upon your device, that's either in the bottom or the top menu. It almost always is green. When I click that, it gives me this window. On my Windows partition on this computer, I can share my entire screen, a virtual whiteboard, a tablet or phone connected, or even an Elmo connected. And I can share a window like this is a Google Chrome browser window. On my Mac, you can see I have a whole lot more things open. Again, the dark mode, so the whiteboard looks dark. But I can share things like a Word document, a PDF file, a PowerPoint, a spreadsheet. I can share anything I have open. That is the key feature right there, ladies and gentlemen. You must have it open to make it show up in this window. Otherwise, you got to go hunting for it. You don't want to go hunting for a document while your kiddos are waiting. You want to have things ready. So when I get ready for each chat, I go and I reset all my windows back to the starting screen, and I have them all ready to go and open for you guys during that process. So I would just click on the item I want and click on share. Before we go into the sharing options again and show you some things we can share together, this is the menu you get when you click the up arrow next to the share screen. Notice you have one participant at a time and multiple can share simultaneously. This is the default setting. In other words, you guys could share if I wasn't sharing. I've turned that feature off for you because I don't want you sharing. I would do that for your students. But know this, as the host, even if you forgot to do this, you can change it in the chat. You can also stop anyone from sharing who takes over your screen, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. When I click Advanced Sharing Options, I get this menu. And this menu, again, is that same piece we just saw, but notice I have changed who can share to host. So if you forgot to do this on the website, you can do it once you're in the chat, and this would not let anybody share but me. If I click all participants, then you guys can share, but notice I still retain the sharing rights. This one is grayed out right now because I've said only I can share. So what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to share with you the virtual whiteboard. When I get to that point, you're going to find out very quickly that you can write on it too. You're going to do that by this. In your screen, when you see the virtual whiteboard, which is this thing down here, you'll see a green bar says you are viewing Scott Richmond's screen, and you'll click on View Options. When you do that, you'll come down to where it says Annotate, and you will get a floating menu bar with options for you to be able to write. So I'm going to share the whiteboard now, and then we're going to start doing some things in here. So first, I'm going to use text. 2 + 2 equals. Then I'm going to draw. Then I'm going to put a check mark there because that problem is correct, Scott. Good job. I'm going to put a heart over here because I like this. And if you would go up to the top of your screen where it says More Options and click on Annotate, you'll get the option to do this as well. And as you can see, you guys are all doing many different things at one time, and that's fantastic. So the bad thing about the virtual whiteboard is this. You can't tell who's writing unless they use that arrow that Ken Wood did. All right? If they're not doing the arrow, you can't do anything. You can't see who it is. So that's a bad thing. The good thing is everybody can write at the same time. Now, if I close it by accident, oops, did we lose all our great work there? Nope. As long as I haven't cleared it out or ended the chat, it is still there. So there you go. I've got that same chat going on. I can save this. I can also clear it, and we can start again. Now, as you guys are playing one more time on this, I want you to realize the benefit of this feature. Many of you elementary folks, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade I'm talking about, right before the break, you were getting so ready to do the writing assessment. And now you're all depressed. Show me you're depressed. You're not going to have a writing assessment. Come on, show me you're depressed. All right, I see it in the screens. But let's say you still want to practice opinion pieces with your students. You could show a PDF article, and you could allow students to annotate with you. You could have the PDF article there, and in the first paragraph, you can go, okay, boys and girls, I'm going to underline this sentence here, put a check plus, because that supports the opinion. Then I'm going to underline this here and put a check minus because that is opposed to the opinion. Now, Maxwell, you do number 2. Stephanie, you do paragraph 3. Amanda, you do paragraph 4. Maylee, you do paragraph 5. And I can do that with them. Math teachers, you could put up a PDF of several math problems. And on the left-hand side, you write down each student's name of who's supposed to do them. And as they solve them in real time, you have a conversation. Other teachers, it could be a reading example, science, social studies, reading. Art, you could do things to critique an artwork or picture or something like that. I even saw a great use for this when I was in a social studies class, a government class before the break, and they were doing political cartoons, because who really has political cartoons anymore? We don't look at papers. We use memes instead, right? We have all those crazy memes, that dumb lady with the cat. We've all seen a million times, right? So you think about how you can use this with your students as a piece to share the screen and to work collaboratively. A really, really neat feature. I am going to re-enable the sharing option for you, and whoever gets to it first can share the screen with us. And I'm going to show you, Jonathan did, but watch, I can shut him down real quick. And so I have control over that no matter what. I have that feature. I have a stop share feature. Aaron Green is sharing now. Thank you, Aaron. And as you know, I can write on Aaron's screen the same way I wrote on any other document. You see that? You guys can too by clicking on more options and then annotate. And she erased my writing and now it's back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of here and stop her share and bring you guys back and turn off that feature so nobody accidentally shares while I'm talking. So again, to get to that screen, you go into the share button. I'm going to show you it again, the share button. And when you do that, share button, you will get these options, including the virtual whiteboard. Here it again, it is on my Mac. And then again, when you're in the virtual whiteboard and you want your participants to write, that's right here under View Options and Annotate while they have the whiteboard open. So a definite great feature for us to be able to use. The last thing I want to show you is I want to show you breakout rooms. And I'm showing you this as an awareness piece so that you don't accidentally go into breakout rooms and put your kids there and not realize that you can't monitor what they're doing. The only reason I would use breakout rooms is my aforementioned example. I am a teacher, I have a co-teacher or a para I work with. I want to do small group with my students, and so I put the co-teacher or para in breakout room 1 with the 5 kiddos that she's going to work with or he's going to work with, and I put the other 25 kids with me in the other room. If that is the case, you're going to use this manual feature. You can manually assign people to breakout rooms. Because there's 175 of you right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put you into random breakout rooms and show you that I can only go into one room at once. So if you are the only teacher, the only host, and you do this, your students will be in a room by themselves, and no one is monitoring them. So be very careful about breakout rooms. When you guys get there, you're going to notice 2 features very quickly. Number 1, you're going to realize you can unmute yourself and have a conversation. Number 2, you're going to realize you can share items again and share with each other and have a conversation. I will pop into 3 or 4 rooms and then I'll bring you guys back. Okay? Here you go.
Breakout rooms because I have my phone and my
Hello, breakout room 1. I found Alice with her
Hey!
computer.
Hey, you can hear me.
All right, you guys have fun. Have a good conversation.
All right.
Okay.
There's mine.
Hello, breakout
did
room
you
2.
do
Oh, you
that?
guys are sharing. Fantastic. So again, a collaborative piece.
If you go to, let me stop share real quick so I can see it again. If you go,
I'm putting my
Oh,
camera
breakout room
on.
5.
Okay, I am there.
Hi, guys. Somebody
Okay.
did not mute themselves. There you go. All right, I'm going to leave you guys and go somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's go to breakout room 8.
It's a lot.
Hello, breakout room 8.
Hello, Scott.
hi.
It's a lot. You're right. That's why I'm recording it, and I'm going to post it for you guys to go back and watch it again, or 10 times, and you can see my smiling face in front of the Gator Stadium. All right, I'm going to go to one more room, then I'll bring you guys back.
Okie
Hello, breakout room 12. You guys did not figure out how to unmute yourselves. You can unmute yourselves in your own
Hi
window.
there.
There you go, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
All right, I'm going to bring everyone back now. Oh, my audio's off. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Woo. So somehow I muted myself. Look at that. Let me repeat
Yes.
what I just said. You guys saw this. All right. So as you can see in the breakout rooms, I only went to 5 of them. So the other 7 breakout rooms, there was technically no adult monitoring you. That's why you don't want to do this with students unless you have a co-facilitator or a person to be on there with you, another teacher, another aide, or something like that who works at your school. Just really important. I show you that feature because I know how creative and how exploratory many teachers are. They may find that feature and not realize it. Also, remember, I am recording this call. But every time I go into one chat room, that's all it records. It only records what I am seeing. So it does not record the other 11 chat rooms I'm not in at that time. So it's definitely important that you only use that feature if you have a co-trainer with you. Now I'm going to show you my screenshots again, and I want to show you the window I get once you guys are in the breakout rooms, and that's this right here. Now notice I was in breakout room 3 at this point. I can leave that room. I can join a different room. So for example, if you were a lucky, fortunate person where you have multiple paras to work with your students and you did breakout rooms, you could go into more than one room. But again, I can close that room out as well and bring you guys back. Just an awareness piece of that feature. Again, if you don't enable it on the website, you won't even have this button right here, breakout rooms. You won't have it. Last thing is a question about recording and where things get saved when you record. So I am recording this chat right now, and when I am done with it, it will save it in a folder on my computer called Documents and Zoom. It records them in a date and time order, and it gives me 3 files. It gives me the audio of my chat, it gives me the text of my chat, the chat session you guys were in, and it gives me a Zoom file, a video file. Now, these video files are MP4s. If you're not familiar with MP4, it's a universal video file. You could upload this file to your YouTube professional channel. You could upload this to Office 365. You could upload it to Edsby and share the link with your students. Now, if you upload it outside of Edsby, which I probably recommend because Edsby sometimes can't handle the load of all those files going through it, you would want to put that link right here. So whether you do it in Office 365 and you share the link and put it here for your students, or you do it in YouTube and share the link for your students, that's what you're gonna do here. When I am done, I will go ahead and take the recording, I will upload it to YouTube, and I will send it to you guys through PDS in an email message so you can go back and watch it whenever you want. Please be aware that I am a couple days behind schedule as far as getting those in. So my hope is by the end of the weekend, I'll be caught up before my next round of chats start next week. I'm gonna stop my recording now. I'm gonna give you